Hey everybody, this is Matt with mathsmath.com. Thanks for joining us here today as we talk about slope-intercept form and how do we graph equations. We're going to be in the Common Core standard of functions, and we're going to be defining, evaluating, and comparing functions. Today we're going to be learning about linear functions and how to put them on a graph. All right, our guiding question is, how can we describe a graph in the form of y equals mx plus b? What does m stand for? What does b stand for? No idea. Let's do it. All right, well, this is our slope-intercept form, so we might want to write this down. We're going to talk about what m and b are. Now, simply, x is just the point on the x-axis, and y is a point on the y-axis. All right, so that's what x and y are. Those will always be x and y. You don't really typically put numbers in there. Now, m is slope, right? Yeah, of course, m stands for slope. Makes perfect sense. Actually, I have no clue why m is slope. You just kind of have to memorize it. It's one of those things people in math land just do. All right, so m is slope, and it's a number that represents the steepness of a line. All right, so here it is. Steepness of a line, you pick a line like this. You find the nice points where it intersects the crosshairs here. So there and there is a nice point. So how do we go from that point to the other one? Up 3/2. It is rise over run, not run over rise. If you think about it, last time you got chased by a bear, what'd you do? You rose and then you ran. You get up out of your chair and then you run. Okay? So that's kind of this deal there. Our slope for this line is 3/2. So if we take another 2 points, we go up 3/2 and we can draw another dot. And that's how we draw that line there. Okay? All right. And then B. What on earth does B stand for? It's as simple as M is the slope. All right? B is the y-intercept. Y, again, no clue why we write B, but that's just how we do it in Mathland, all right? So y is the y-intercept, or B is the y-intercept, and it's where the place of the line hits the y-axis. So look here. Here is B. B is where the line hits the y-axis. So right here, and right there. What numbers do we represent? Well, let's try to guess. Here we go. So what is B? Well, B is -2. It hits down here at -2, so B is -2. You want to try and guess what the slope is? All right, take this point, or this point, or this point, any nice point, and see how we do. We go down 1, over 1, down 1, over 1. So it's rise, actually it's dropping 1, which means -1 over 1. All right, so our m there is -1, because we're going down 1, over 1. Same thing here. What is our B? Well, right there. It's where the line hits the y-axis, and that is simply 1. B equals 1. What's the slope? What's m? All right, it's going down. The slope is going down as we move to the right, so the slope is going to be negative. And we picked 2 nice points. Let's do this one. Down 1/2, so it's going to be -0.5 or -1/2. All right, what's B here? If you said 1, you're correct. What's your slope? What's m? Now, if you said 1/3, you got it mixed up. Remember, when you're getting chased by a bear, you get up, then you go over. So it's 3/1, not 1/3. Okay? All right, that's y equals mx plus b. And that's the formula we're going to be using today. So we're going to draw a line with this. And what we're going to do here is now we're going to graph each of these lines. You're going to figure out what's the slope and where the line hits the y-axis. Okay? I'm going to do just that. So let's do this. Here's our first one. Y equals -1/2x plus 1. Well, first thing we do is we look at B. B is 1. So we put a dot on 1 on the y-axis. Okay? Right there. We put a dot there. Big fat red dot. Now, the next thing we do is we look at the slope, which is -0.5. Now, anytime the slope is written as a decimal, you're going to want to just write it as a fraction. Much easier. And you'll see why here in just a second. This is -1/2, so it'll be -1/2x plus 1. So it's easier to talk about it going down, because it's negative, down 1/2 rather than 0.5 what? Just not the same, okay? So it's negative, so that means we go down instead of up. So from this nice dot, we're going to go down 1/2, down 1/2. And we put a dot everywhere we go down 1/2. So here's a dot here, another big red dot, and another big red dot there. Now, you don't have to go through the whole graph with dots, but you do want to draw it through the whole graph. So we'll put up a nice big old red line there, and there's our line. Notice it's got a negative slope, meaning it's going down as we move to the right. Check it. Our y-intercept is 1. Our slope is down 1/2. We're good to go. There it is. All right. Looking at the line and where it hits the y-axis, that's the first thing you're going to want to do, okay? That's B. And you also want to double check whether the slope is positive or negative. That's a good check to go over the line and say, hey, is it going up to the right or down to the right? All right, let's do this one. Negative x plus 2. All right, what's B? B is 2. All right, so we're going to put a dot at 2. Right there. And now, what's our m? Now, there is no m there. There's no number there, but there is a negative. And what number can we put in front of the x to make it the same? Well, if we put a 1, we're good to go. So this means we're going down 1, what? Over 1. We can always put a number over 1 and be fine. So this means we're going negative 1, which means down 1 over 1. Down 1 over 1. So let's go back to our dot, go to our B. We're going to go down 1 over 1. Down 1 over 1. Like I said, you don't have to put dots over the whole graph, but you do need to connect your line through the whole graph, okay? You'll end up looking something like this. Bam, there it is. Okay? All right, look at the line and notice where it hits the y-axis again. Check positive or negative slope. All right, now I want you to do this one on your own. Negative x minus 2 equals y. All right, here it is. You get this? Again, notice it hits B, the y-axis at negative 2, and it's going down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. Okay? Again, double check your work. What are you noticing about the equations and the answers you're getting? Any pattern you're picking up? All right, check it out. Now do this one. 0.5x plus 1. Again, start with B, then go to m. All right, should have had this. B is 1, then you're going up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. All right, when you have a slope in decimal form, just a reminder, make sure you turn it into a fraction. It's much easier to graph it in fraction form than it is in decimal form, okay? Why don't you try these? Definitely label what m and b are on each of these equations and see what you can get for graphs. All right, how'd you do? Well, 2 here, remember that's b. M here is an invisible 1. Same thing with this one. There's an invisible 1 there. All right. Negative 2 should be where it hits the x-axis. This one, there's an invisible 1, so your slope is negative 1. Your b is 2.5. And here, slope is negative 3, so that's down 3 over 1. And then here it hits the y-axis at negative 0.5. All right, how you doing so far? You getting it? Well, now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the x-intercept. We've talked about how to find the y-intercept. Now we're going to find out the x-intercept. Well, if you think about it, when the y-intercept, when the line hits the y-intercept, x is 0. Okay, x is 0. So when the line hits the x-intercept, y equals what? Y equals 0. Okay, so we're going to find the x-intercept now by plugging in 0 for y. All right, so here's our equation. What we're going to do now, we're going to try and figure out where does the line hit? It's going to hit somewhere over here. We can't see it though. It's not on the graph. So what we got to do now is we take y and we make it 0 because when it hits the y-axis or when it hits the x-axis over here, y is going to be 0. So instead of putting y there, we're going to put 0. Now this is just SADMAP working backwards with the variables here. Going to solve for x, get that 2 over, multiply it by 3. Move the 2 over, multiply by 3, you get x equals 6. So the x-intercept here is going to be positive 6. Kind of what we expected, right? Looking at the graph. All right, why don't you write the equation for this one and check it here in just a sec. All right, did you get this? Y equals 2x plus 1. Start with b is 1 and go up 2 over 1. Now, where is the the x-intercept? It's going to be right here, and we can make a guess that it's probably negative 0.5, but let's do it for sure. Again, make y equals 0, solve for x, bring everything over, and we're going to get negative 0.5. And that's what it looks like. So that's good. So our x-intercept is negative 0.5. Why don't you do this one all on your own? Find the equation, tell me what b and m are, and then tell me what x-intercept is. All right, how'd you do? Did you get this for the equation? Start with b is 1, and then you're going down 2 over 3. So that's a negative slope. Remember, check your slopes. Make y equals 0, solve for x, bring everything over, and we get x equals 1/2, which is kind of what we could guess too, right? Right there, right in between. All right, cool. Now, what are the equations of these lines? I'm going to find b and m for this equation. Notice here it doesn't look normal. It doesn't look like y equals something. So what you got to do first is move this -2 minus 2 over to the other side by adding 2. Okay? That's what our equation is going to look like. All right, so m is a third, b is 2. Our x-intercept is -6. Plugged in y equals 0, move everything around, x equals -6. All right, why don't you do these on your own? Right, how can you find the x-intercept of the graph 2x plus 3y equals 6? Do you remember? Well, you got to make y equals 0 and solve for x. Okay, get everything away from the y and then solve for x. All right, is the equation y equals 3x in slope-intercept form? Well, you know what? It is. Even though you don't see a b there tacked on the end, b is 0. What number can you add on the end and not make a big difference? B is 0. All right, now, why don't you try this one? Y is the cost of taking a taxi x miles. And so y is the equation. Y equals 2.5x plus 2. Why don't you graph this equation? Now your slope here, your b is really easy, it's 2. But your slope is a little different. Again, it's 2.5. So it's 2.5 over 1, or turn it into an improper fraction of 5 over 2, meaning you go up 5 over 2. All right, now what does the y-intercept and the slope represent? Now if you think about it, the 2 here, at 0, at x equals 0, you still have to pay $2. So as soon as you step foot in the door of the taxi, you're getting charged $2. What does 2.5 represent? Well, per mile, x is the number of miles. Per mile, it's $2.50. That's what those represent. All right, here's your graph. Pretty steep to drive a taxi. And there it is. $2 is your flat fee. $2.50 per minute or mile, whatever you're going to be using as your units there. Okay. Well, that's pretty much it. Can you describe a graph in the form of y equals mx plus b? Tell me what m is. Tell me what b is. I think you can. All right, and that's pretty much it as we talk about slope-intercept form. This is Matt with mathsmath.com. Thanks for joining us. Check us out on Facebook at Solving Maths Problems and on Twitter at Maths Math. And enjoy math, guys.